I thought a lot about. We did a little bit of a series last month, just focusing on things that people experience on a regular basis, and I thought that, and I'll share this. A part of my personal testimony is that This is interesting. I'm just gonna check, make sure everybody's okay. How are you? So part of my personal testimony is that um, I grew up in foster care. And when I was growing up in foster care, um, well, I was in a lot of different homes in the infant stage, and went to college, did all the stuff that people do. And as I was maturing as an adult, I started realizing that there were some deficits in the way that I interacted with people. And to be honest, I just thought, I think I took like some kind of personality test, and it said I was an introvert, so I just decided to blame it on introversion, right? Like I'm an introvert, that's why I don't attach well with people, that's why, and that's this, that. But I also had this odd thing where like nobody recognized me as an introvert. I would say to people that I was an introvert, and they would be like, I don't know. You don't come off as an introvert, and I couldn't, you know, I'm not, I identify now as an ambivert, which is somewhere in between like an introvert and an extrovert, but I couldn't put my finger on why I was struggling in relationships, and not just relationships like with friends, but like intimate relationships. I seem to be having the whole sort of similar issues, and what would tend to happen is I would become a recluse, right? Like I would just kind of remove myself from environments and people and systems because in my mind, that I got this energy from being alone, and I do get a lot of energy from being alone. I'm the type of person that I could just go on a drive and, you know, see y'all when I see you. But as I matured as an adult and got degrees and started managing people at work, I started noticing like, hey, this is not a personal thing. Like I'm having some issues with connection and connecting with people as a manager that are similar to challenges that I've had in relationships. And I really wanted to be able to dig deeper into what specifically was happening in my life. And I just, to be honest, I felt like growing up as a foster kid and surviving and going to college, like that I had like survived like the trauma of life, like I had overcome it, and I was ready to. I'm moving on this example. I'm, preaching to people about what it means to survive trauma, and I realized that I had not survived trauma. I had not faced trauma because my definition of facing trauma was having this sort of success that was defined by other people, right? I got some degrees, like I got a good job, like, I got a little bit of money. To me, I had overcome all the obstacles because of my economic status. And it was really just the number of relationships that I was in where I realized that there was some sort of common denominator. I went to a leadership retreat, and at the leadership retreat, they were talking about attachment styles. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like something that I'll be interested in. So I got a book bless you, I got a book called Attached. And it's a book, if you haven't, if hopefully something sparks in you, be careful, sit on the edge of that bench. You gotta sit in the middle or else it'll be like a wave. Um, but it'll have somebody, at least one person every week, like sits on the edge and it's like a. Did you? Okay. Right. So I started reading the book called Attached and learning about attachment theory. And have the interest in being a psychologist. I'm just a preacher that likes to read. And so I started reading about it, and I took the test, and I learned about my own attachment style. And then I started to wonder if I had the capacity to change how I attach to people or how I navigated hey y'all, how I navigated the results of my attachment. This is a handout right there. How I navigated the results of my attachment. There's a handout right there.
YouTube? YouTube? I have people that want to tune in.
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, where do I go to provide them with the information?
I think it's 1 moment. So all you have to do is just go and share because it's streaming on YouTube. You just share. I can't tell you how to do it right now. Let's see if maybe I can share with you. Right. God bless y'all. Okay. It's not letting me. Okay. It doesn't want to let me. Okay. Somebody that follows the YouTube tells Sister Raynisha because she's looking for the link. But if you go if you look for Reconciliation Church online, it should be live. Or you can go to the email and there's a link that says follow YouTube. For those of you who are just not coming in, I'm explaining my relationship or my sort of journey to, and there's a handout up here too, my journey to attachment style. So I grew up as a foster kid. I thought I survived the trauma of being a foster kid because I went to school, I got some degrees, I had some success, I had all the economical things. And so in my mind, I thought I survived it. And then I started realizing that some of the challenges that I was having in intimate relationships, I thought it was just those other people. When you're in a relationship with somebody and they're stupid and you just realize it's them, like it's always them, it's never you. But I started being a manager at work and nothing will reveal deficits or areas of your life that you need to think more deeply about or like that are soft spots or that are weak areas for you. Nothing reveals that more than being a manager at work because you have to be professional at the same time as you have to be, there's a lot of pressure. So I started realizing like the issues that I have go beyond issues of other people being bad employees or bad girlfriends or whatever. Like there's something deeper than that. So I went to a retreat, and when I got to the retreat, they were talking about attachment styles. And I thought like, that doesn't apply to me because I'm saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost. And I got 2 or 3 degrees and I'm smart. And so other people have attachment issues, but I don't because I survived all the things that I could possibly be attached to when I walked across the stage and got a degree. That's what I thought in my mind. And God was like, no, you got some issues. There's a handout up here too, for the folks that are just coming in. So let me, what I want to do tonight is talk a little bit about, so this attachment theory, I didn't make it up, because if I did make it up, it probably would be a little bit different. It probably would be less incriminating. It's a idea. So let's talk a little bit about, so what I want to do tonight is I want to talk about what attachment styles is, how it impacts our lives, how we get there, how our attachment style is generated. So our attachment style is generated or shaped primarily by 3 things. First, our early childhood experience. When they did research, the original researcher on attachment styles, what they did was they took a little baby and they looked at how the baby responds when the parent leaves and when they come back, when they leave the room, and when they come back. They also looked at observations, so how the child recreated what they observed, and then any significant life events or trauma. So most of us, all of us, whether we feel like we had a good childhood or not, we have all been, God bless you all, we have all been, our way of attaching has everything to do with the way that we were raised. And there are healthy and unhealthy attachment styles. So I didn't know this. So my mother, my birth mother, and don't cringe when I say this unless you've heard me say it before. My birth mother was a prostitute. And she would leave for a couple of days. She would leave for a couple of days. She would just be gone. Then she'd come back with McDonald's. Now, let me tell you, I don't know what this generation, what the equivalent of a McDonald's is for this generation, but let me tell you, in the 80s, when your parents came back with a Happy Meal, you had something. All sins were forgiven, and it had a real toy. I don't know what the toys are these days, but a Happy Meal could fix everything. And what I thought was happening is I was becoming this brilliantly independent child that knew how to do stuff. By the time I was 8 or 9, I knew how to cook a full meal. I could baste a turkey. I could do all kinds stuff, because in my mind, I was a hero. One time when I was about 7, I had a party. I don't know where my mom was, for my little brother. He took a shot of fingernail polish, and so that didn't go well. Shout out to my brother Beachy, who took a shot of fingernail polish and ruined my first party planning. But don't worry though, because from that instance, I learned that I'm a good event planner. I know, don't worry about it. I went through my whole life thinking that all these things that happened to me when I was a little child, they just prepared me and I got all this expertise and really, I didn't realize that I was struggling in relationships. I want you to be thinking about that. And it's not, because I know that there's some parents whose children are here. I think sometimes, because I was thinking about this, sometimes, I know my mom, she just gets really anxious and crazy when I start talking about the way that I grew up, because she thinks I'm trying to indict her. It's you're okay. You were who you were. And you are who you are now. And I'm taking better care of you than you could take care of me. It was your capacity. You couldn't be to me what I needed, right? But that's okay, right? And so that's another thing that I just had this hero complex as a very young child. And I didn't know that it was not helpful, because in my life, and this is just a testimony, I suffered throughout college and really throughout my 20s, because I thought that my value was connected to being needed and people needing me to do something for them, right? Because when I was young, I cooked for my siblings, I took care of them, that was my job to do, because my parents didn't have the capacity to do that. So when they went off and started living their life, I was finding people to save. I was looking for people to save, because in my mind, that is what brought me value, being able to save. But I eventually had to sit in a room by myself, right? I had to realize that I was somehow responsible for what I have been calling my superpower. It wasn't my superpower, because I would be in relationships with other people and they would be like, "Where are you going?" And I didn't realize that I was leaving to save other people and avoiding the people that I cared about, because that's what my mom did. She would be gone, meeting somebody else's needs. You know what I mean? Stop laughing. Stop laughing. But we have I think the other casualty of that too is sometimes we survive things and we tell jokes about it, we make light of it because it makes us feel better. And sometimes we do that all of our lives and we don't face the reality of, you know what, there's a lot of stuff attached to that. And I realized that when my brothers became parents, they started really thinking about what it means to leave for more than 5 hours from your children. Because when our mom left, she was gonna be back when she came back, Right? And we grew to get used to that, but we didn't realize that there was trauma attached to that until we started feeling weird to leave children. I was so afraid to drive my nieces and nephews from Portland to Seattle one time because I was just thinking like, this is so much responsibility because no parent had ever driven me nowhere. My mom still don't know how to drive, right? And I didn't realize that the fear was all about me not, God bless y'all. I didn't realize that the fear was all about me not dealing with my attachment. So here's how we develop. So some of our attachment is developed, most of our attachment is developed when we're very young, and then the factors that affect our attachment style. It's hard. Some of us struggle with attachment if we're the oldest child. How many of you are the oldest child? Okay. All the oldest children, you know, it's like, I definitely had that, like, my mom definitely does not care about me. I am not her favorite. She got the baby or the middle child, and they be skipping up and down the road. When my mom would come back, she would take my middle brother. They still, like, thick as thieves. Like they be all over, they be talking to each other all the time on the phone. My responsibility is always the caretaker. If she don't take her medicine, mom won't take her medicine. Well, how come you can't tell her? Oh, because she don't listen to me because we're friends. Right, y'all are friends. I'm like, but I'm that guy. Because the older kid is like, Mom, take your medicine or I'm finna like, just you making some kind of threat, like, it's hard to be the older child. But I realize that some people have that issue with being the middle child, or sometimes it's hard to be the youngest child. You know, like, so you're the youngest? Who's the youngest? Raise your hand. Okay, yeah, y'all got a lot of things in common. I know some of y'all. God bless y'all. All right, your living situation can have an impact on how you experience attachment. And I'm using myself, I'm not trying to like invite you into my trauma, I'm using myself as an example because I want you to know like how it manifests. When we ended up going to foster care and we were able to see my mom, we had to go on a certain day of the week on a Friday at 2 o'clock. And we had to meet her at the CPS. And sometimes she wouldn't be there. And sometimes she would be there and she wouldn't have nothing with her, right? And like other kids in the foster home would come home with like a new pair of shoes and she wouldn't have nothing. And we were like, so, where's the McDonald's now, right? So that cultivated I had this expectation and the things that I needed that were normal to other people, like it just got weird. So stress and trauma, health and well-being of parents. My mom is also an extreme schizophrenic. Right, and so she be having a whole conversation with whoever, like right in front of you, right? And so that other thing is that I can have a whole conversation with myself right now because it was the norm in our household, right? And so that a part of my independence is, I don't need other people because I can have a whole meeting with myself. Like I have also experienced times where I'm like, I just wish everybody at work could leave so I could do everybody's job. Like, because it's quicker and I don't have to instruct nobody. I think it's that older child, it's like, you guys do not know what you're doing. I do not have the time to teach you. Like, so how about y'all just go? I used to dismiss my brothers. Like, I know we're all supposed to do this, but you guys just go to the basement. I will struggle through cleaning up this whole house and we will all take credit for it because y'all are slow, you're in the way, right? So how we erase matters. So there are 4 kinds of attachment styles. There are 4 attachment styles. The first is secure. That is when you trust, you're open to love, you're not struggling with clinginess, like you're just everything. And I want to say that, how many of you took the test, the quiz? Some of y'all, okay, take it when you get a chance so you know where you land. I thought, after I sent it, I thought maybe I shouldn't send it because then people will be like, oh, I'm secure, right? I did come up with secure because I was like acting like I didn't have no parents. Anyway, long story. So secure is a place where you can get. It's not a place that you gotta be already, but a secure attachment style is you are trust, you're open to love, you're not uncomfortable with closeness, like people are, how many of you know somebody that like loves everybody, like they can be alone, but they can be in groups, they're just fun loving? That's not me, so I don't know who that is. I'll be looking for the people. And then there's anxious attachment. That is, do you know somebody who always has a fear of rejection? They're constantly needing assurance, and it's not like they're weird or stupid. They just are like, what you think about my outfit? Okay, you look nice. All right. And I don't think it's a bad thing, but like how many of you like to get assurance from people in your life? Okay, how many of you like will admit that sometimes you go overboard? Okay, that comes from someplace, right? Like people with critical parents or people with churchy parents, like we tend to be like, and the latter in my life, I was raised by a very critical, strong woman who ended up raising me and my brothers, and there was no fuzzies, there was no hugging, and to me, and her affirmation of me was something at church. If you didn't do something well at church, don't worry about it. you could be on the honor roll at school, but do you know that Easter speech, right? Like that was her. So I wasn't used to like getting any kind of affirmation. And so like, as I grew up, I started realizing like, when I get in relationships, I want something, my love language is words of affirmation. Like I want you to say, I don't want you to just be looking at me with eyes of intimacy. I want you to say, I like what you have on. Right? Like, so some people are like that. If you are like that and you need that, especially if you want to be in a secure relationship, you have to ask yourself, why do I need this? Because a lot of us, how many of you have ever been in a friendship or relationship with somebody that just did not have that capacity to be like, you look nice? Like you're a good person. Like they just don't have the capacity to do that, and you can't make people be something because you have an attachment issue. Right? So there's anxious. Then there's avoidant, emotionally distant, uncomfortable with dependence. And I'm not dependent on nobody. Ain't nobody gonna say I had to borrow no money from them. Do I have are any of y'all here? Where it's like, and I think it's an older child thing. I need a pair of socks, but anyway, over the weekend, I was somewhere and I needed a pair of socks. And I was like, okay, wear these same socks from yesterday because you didn't pack none, or ask somebody. And then I thought, I'm gonna be in the newsletter, they're gonna say, Belmonte was out here with no socks at church, and I thought to myself, I'd rather wear old socks from yesterday than for somebody to say that they lent me some socks, because I know that because you know people like that. They will be like, yeah, because one time he didn't have no socks and he was at church and I had to give him some. That ain't gonna never be named among me. I'm just giving y'all an example of an avoidant person. It's like, ain't nobody ever gonna have to say they had to loan me no money. Ain't nobody ever gonna say that they had to pick me up on the side of a road. I got AAA, I got all the stuff. Because I'm doing everything that I can to avoid people thinking that I'm dependent on anything. And all of us know somebody that is the complete opposite. They need you to pick them up, they need a hug, you tell them they look cute, they're very needy, and we have to ask ourselves, so there's no good or bad, right? So that's avoidant, emotionally distant. Like, how are you doing? You got a person in your friend group, they don't say nothing. You can't get them, you can't tickle them to make them laugh. They're there, but they're not like, they're just so like rigid, right? And then you have fearful avoidant. They want closeness, but they're afraid of being hurt, right? Because they have some traumatic experience, or they have friends that talked about them, and so now they are reluctant to reach out to other friends, right? Or like, if you're depending on what kind of work you're in, like we interact with people that have attachment issues, and one of the things that God had to teach me, especially as an educator, as a person that is a preacher, I had to learn how to see people outside of this attachment issue that they might have. Like, I am not here to become responsible, and this is me growing to become more secure, because 10 years ago, you would have said my ankle is hurt, and I would have drove you to the hospital. I did not have to be that one. Do you have insurance? Right? Because if not, you'll just be driving everybody to the hospital. And you will be, and this is what happens, I'm testifying now. You will be in a situation where, because you like to be needed, that you will be doing all this stuff for all these people, and you will be unfulfilled because none of them will say thank you, because they become used to you doing it, and they will expect you to do it. right? And so you'll be in this cycle where you're trying to fill a void, and the people that you have gathered yourself around, they don't got no money, they don't got no, they can't babysit your kids, but you got to babysit theirs all the time. You know what I mean? They can't take your shift, but you always got to take theirs. They know what they're doing because they see a void in you that they decide to capitalize on. All right? So that's those attachment styles. This is here's another way of looking at these attachment styles. So an anxious attached person says, I want to be extremely emotionally close with others, but they abandon me, right? Like we get into, and I want you to think about like the last time you were talking to one of your friends and you asked them how come they won't get on Tinder or whatever. And they give you this long thing about one time, like, how come I love watching this lady, she talks about why she wouldn't go on a trip with other people. And she makes a new reel about what happened. And I was like laughing one day, and I realized to myself, she has a traumatic experience, and I feel bad for her because there got to be somebody that she would enjoy traveling with. But she done made a whole bunch of money saying, I can never go on a trip with a person who, and then there's a long list. God bless you. So I want to be extremely emotionally close, but I'm afraid that somebody will abandon me. The fearful avoiding person says, I have trust issues and maintain distance from people. And how many of you have trust issues? Okay. And sometimes it's not like trust in relationship, it can just be trust with friends. God bless you. It can be trust with friends. It can be trust with business. How many of you have somebody that like, you can never get them to buy nothing or commit to nothing? They always got to look it up on 10 different websites. They're reading the reviews and we got to buy it now. Like it's a now moment. Like, why are you looking up the reviews? Is it going to matter what somebody on the internet thinks about 5 years ago about the document? And I had that. I was sitting out just to relate to this idea. Because of the issues that I have with trust, I'll be like outside of a hotel before I book the hotel reading the reviews. Let me see that there was a bed bug. And I'm driving to the next, I'm going to the next place. And here's the reality, that all of them got something going on, right? Everybody, people who had good experiences don't write reviews. They rarely write reviews. But people who had a bad experience, it's like, one time, and then you got to look at the year. In 2017, they remodeled since then, right? But people who have trust issues, they will be trying to go through all the possibilities of why it won't work because committing too easily means that they're subjecting themselves to being hurt or to being misused or to being talked about. Okay, so an avoidant person, it is very important that I feel independent and self-sufficient. I woke up this morning, I didn't want to be able to take credit for nothing that I got, nothing that I have, nothing that I look like. I did all this by myself. It is just me. It is nobody else. It is just me. And then a secure person says, I don't worry about being abandoned or about somebody getting too close to me. I don't care nothing about none of that. I just wake up and I'm happy, whoever those people are. Okay, so you have this handout. I want to talk just a little bit about, so I'm thinking about this. I read the book is a book called Attached. And I'm thinking like, when I realized, okay, I got some attachment issues, I got some mama issues, I got daddy issues, but not as much as I got mama issues, right? You've heard me talk about them tonight already in great detail. When I started reading this book, I started thinking to myself, like, I need to address issues because, first of all, I need to admit that I have some issues with attachment. I need to admit that. And I want to challenge you tonight because maybe you didn't do the test or you haven't done it yet or you're thinking about it, but I want to challenge you to think about areas, maybe you've been in a relationship that didn't work, like maybe you're in a relationship now and you're wondering, or maybe you're married or you're always arguing about the same thing, or maybe you don't survive a friends group for more than a year, or whatever it is. I want you to think about, how is my attachment style connected to the way that I interface with people? So I think knowing your attachment style, okay, that has a case, praise God. Knowing your attachment style is very important. A couple of things that the theorists and the books say you can do to change your attachment style, and then we'll talk the Bible. You can build awareness of your attachment patterns. So knowing is half the battle, right? Like if I come into when I came into the knowledge that a part of my issue with abandonment or dependence had to do with my mom, it was time for me to conquer, for me to start asking questions. And one of the things I had to do was reconcile my past. Like, who have I had a bad experience with, and I didn't realize it was because I dealt with distrust because of something that happened to me almost 30 years ago, right? Why am I always in an argument with someone on a regular basis about the same thing, and I'm not seeing the pattern? So seeing the pattern. How many of you in the last, let's say, 3 weeks have noticed a pattern that you have? One person, okay. Let's think about that a little bit deeply, because somebody in your life recognizes a pattern that you don't recognize. Have you ever been in an argument with somebody and they say, you always do such and such, and you get really upset because you don't like that they said always? Right, because what they're saying is, I recognize a pattern that you do not recognize. And it might not be always, but it's most of the time. Right, you pretty consistently are. One of my friends was telling me a couple of weeks ago that I consistently will joke something serious off. Because in my mind, it's not that serious. And I just don't think it's serious. Like, why are you overthinking that? And they're like, you're making trivial, you always make trivial of something that I think is important. And I'm like, I definitely do not always do that. I want you to think of another word other than always. But they would not relent. They were like, nope, I'm going with always, especially since you're so combative. It's always. Like, you are always doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm making you aware of a pattern. So some patterns in our life we cannot see. I had a pattern when I was in my 30s, because none of my family lives in Sacramento. And I would notice that if I had this unhealthy attachment to sports, if my team lost, I would go to Best Buy and I would buy something that I couldn't afford. And I would think that it made me feel better. Somebody was like, you at Best Buy, huh? Right? Don't talk like you know me. I'm not at Best Buy, but I am at Best Buy. Why? Because they recognize that you have this pattern where you start buying things when you get sad because you don't know how to sit with sadness. Where you at right now? I'm at Red Robin because they have endless fries. I knew you were there because you don't know how to deal with your emotions, so you just start eating. That's a pattern, right? It's a pattern when and you hear people talking about patterns in their life, and you don't see it as a pattern. How many of you have heard people talk about, I'm just gonna sit down and I'm gonna give me some ice cream because I'm going through. Ice cream. Patterns, emotional unhealthiness, and ice cream. French fries for me. It's like whoever got the biggest thing of French fries. I'm not currently going to McDonald's right now. It's very hard because they have some challenges that they haven't worked through, but I miss the French fries. Okay? It's Red Robin for me though. So what are the patterns in your life? And if you're bold enough, ask somebody, what are my patterns, and what do we tend to always argue about? Like, what are the areas? I want my mom to ask me, because I noticed that my mom, she had, when she started talking about money, it shoots all the way out of, it's like, it just ends. And I realized it's not her, because her capacity is only to talk about money. She loves talking about money. I do not love talking about money, particularly with her. I will blow my handle if she mentions money. And she will always say, I didn't ask you for no money. That's her first response. And I'm like, oh, you must be having some money that you don't want to tell me about. She goes hard. She'll be way left. And I realize she is not the problem because she doesn't have the capacity to do something different. But I do. When she starts talking about something that I don't have the capacity to really delve into, Mom, can I call you back later? Can we talk, when we talk about money, it always makes me anxious. And so, and I'm saying this to y'all right now, and I'll get in the car and my mom will call and it'll just, because it's a pattern. I know it's a pattern. And so I'm not gonna be able to make impact in my own life if I don't recognize patterns in my life. So recognizing patterns, learning about secure attachment, we'll talk a little bit about that. Developing secure relationships, we're gonna talk about that. Practicing effective communication. Let me just tell you something that you don't know about yourself that somebody else knows about you. You are not a good communicator. I know. You are not a good communicator. And the people who know you are not a good communicator are likely the people that you want, the people that you sleep with, the people that you're married to. They have learned to navigate around your communication style. They have learned to read things about you that you do not have the capacity to say. They are working very hard, and you are doing that for somebody else. People are being passive aggressive, and you know what that means now because you have watched them be passive aggressive enough. This means, why didn't you pull the trash out to the corner? This means, I don't like your hair. This means you came 10 minutes late to work. You have not said it, right? All of us have a struggle with communication, and if we don't admit that we have a communication struggle, we will never be able to change a pattern in our communication. All of us can afford to be better communicators because most of what we think is in our head. We only say 10% of what we think. Well, some of us. I'll be saying a lot. I'm probably more about in the 30%, right? Because I'll be talking out loud, all right? So knowing your attachment style, engaging in therapy and self-reflection and journaling is very important. We're not going to talk about that too deeply tonight, but I'm of the belief that everybody needs a therapist. And it might be your mom, it might be somebody that you go see. I think that, especially Christians, you need somebody that you can talk to, that you can confide in about things, that will be able to hear you and ask the right questions. Because some of us, we are stuck in patterns because we don't have anybody in our life that asks us the right questions, all right? So I'm not gonna talk about that tonight, but I wanted to say that that's what the book says, get some therapy. Challenge negative core beliefs, we're gonna talk about that, and then practical mindfulness and emotional regulation. We're gonna talk about co-regulation and self-regulation. So the first thing is knowing your attachment style. For those of you who are online, we will send the notes and the PowerPoint. Here's what Psalm 139, 23 through 24 says. It says, and this is in the Message Bible, let's say, because I don't remember what version it's in. Investigate me, oh God, find out everything about me, cross-examine and test me, get a clear picture of what I'm about, see for yourself whether I've done anything wrong, then guide me on the path to eternal life. And how many of you remember that? The only reason why I even be known how to pray this prayer because I used to have this song, if you find anything that's not like you, she love, no, okay, whatever. Anyway, so a lot of us, our inability to be cross-examined by people starts with our inability to be cross-examined by God. Like we don't get into a place where it's like, okay, God, I just had this argument. I know I'm right to him or her, but I want you to show me myself. Show me areas of my life, of my heart that I cannot see, right? We need to be willing to ask God to examine us, and I think that that's very important. If you think about some of the, you gotta help your grandpa out, I love that. Your ability to see yourself. Now, here's the danger of this. Some of us don't have the capacity to examine ourselves without becoming hypercritical of ourselves. There's a difference between examining yourself and having low self-esteem. Examining yourself is saying, okay, I want to interrupt this pattern. I want to be a better person. I want to be a better wife, a better husband, a better employee, a better friend. And God, I want you to show me how. Low self-esteem is when Sister Denisha said that, like, I ain't never been no good friend. So I'm reviewing, like, all the times that I was a good friend to her, and I'm saying, yeah, she's wrong. So what I'm doing is I'm spending more time on what she said than talking to God about how I can show up better, right? And I think that sometimes our challenge is we are spending so much time examining what other people have said or what they think about us. I worked in human resources one time, and I do not know why, because I was the worst human resources employee of all times. I don't know why. I don't know why they had me. I can hire somebody, I can talk to people, but when all that paperwork, I couldn't do it. It was like, I don't know who is called to this. I just know it's not me. And they would write these evaluations, and it would clean me out for about a month. I would be like, they said I don't listen. They said I'm stupid. I would internalize everything that somebody said about me, and I would forget that I just work here. This ain't my life. Completely. Like I couldn't, but it was so hard for me to see myself in the way that God see me because I was so busy internalizing what other people said about me. Self-examination where God is involved is you and God talking through the argument that you had yesterday. It's you and God talking through the way that you're feeling about yourself when you're in your period. It's you and God when somebody mentions that your stomach is big. It's you and God having we have these conversations all the time because I walk in the room and all people can see is like, oh, you're a big guy. It's like I'm struggling with my weight, like in a man kind of way. The last thing I want to hear is I walk in the room and you're calling me Big D. I don't want to hear that. I do not want to hear. I'm just telling y'all, it's hard. It's hard. You can't. A lady at work was like, I'm gonna start calling you that. You're actually not gonna start calling me that. I don't do that in my life. I'm already stressed out. I don't want to be big, and I don't want you to be calling me big nothing. I don't know why. I was somewhere, and it was like I was in a restaurant. It was like a woman in front of me, and I'm not even going into like the ethnicities of these people, but you could probably guess. The gentleman said, "You look just like Shaq." I'm just looking like, I know that I do not look like Shaq. I know we look nothing alike. We might have a few things in common, but it's not this. So the sister over here is dying. She is like, because she know I didn't say nothing to the man, because I'm thinking to myself that but anyway, I had gotten this self-reflection because you feel good about yourself, you all dressed up, and then somebody say you look like a sumo wrestler. Okay, all right. So I had to learn to talk to God about that because what I'm internalizing about my weight, and then I went somewhere with my cousins one time. We were in Portland, and in my mind, after I crossed the 30 threshold, like there was no fashion or nothing because I had outgrown my 20s fashion. And so my cousins were like, why are you buying those 1999 Team Jordans? Like, because I like them. They're like, you are not a dad, those are dad shoes. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I like dad shoes or whatever. I didn't understand what the problem was. But then I realized after I had done some assessment that I had started to feel so bad about myself that I couldn't see myself in a trend or a fashion. I didn't want to go, I would go shopping about things that I was comfortable. Oh, I could buy a hat. I'm gonna get a haircut. But I couldn't see myself being viewed in a certain way. And when my cousins were like, you're 30, like you need to dress, but you dress like you're 60, I started like, how did I get here? Because I used to really care about what I looked like. And so I had to start talking to God about that, and God started revealing to me that you got frumpy because you just started buying whatever was on sale. Because in your mind, you were thinking like, I'm gonna lose weight, and then I'm about the cheap stuff now, and then when I lose weight, then I'm gonna get the regular stuff. God had to reveal that to me. God had to reveal that to me. And so you know what I did? I used to be like real high on Banana Republic. I can't fit nothing in there necessarily now. But ever so often, somebody returns something from online, and I buy it with joy because I used to shop there all the time. Anyway, but it had an impact on me mentally because I was examining what other people were saying and not asking God to show me who I was through his eyes. That's self-examination with God. God, who do you see me as? Because sometimes we only see ourselves as a bad employee or fat or too skinny or too dark or too light because that's what people have told us that that's how we have to see ourselves, or too old or too young, and we've got in this pattern of our only examination is examination through the eyes of our parents. And some of us don't talk to our parents all the time, and we can hear them saying things, and that's how we live, so we need to check that. So self-examination is important. Making secure connections, that's number 2. And this is one of the things, but I'm taking just a different look at this. You might have to make an adjustment to your friend circle if everything about your friend circle, like if your friend circle is built upon bad attachment or unhealthy attachments. Like, for instance, me realizing that I'm a person that doesn't feel value unless I'm caring for someone, I realized that all my friends when I was in my 30s were in their 20s because they did not have the capacity to take care of themselves, and I was always there. And to me, I had to be a hero. They were not my friends. They did not have the capacity to be my friends. They were not my friends, but they were the product of an unhealthy attachment style. And so since I could care for them and I felt validated by caring for them, they were my friends, right? But then as God began to mature me, I realized that friends are people that you can go on a trip with and you don't have to pay all the stuff. Who am I talking to? Friends are people that you can have a conversation with and you say, oh, I'm tired today. I'm tired too. Well, it's like, okay, so can we both be tired? Like, friends are somebody that you don't have to do caretaking for because they're a narcissist, but they're the only person that you can talk to. So you answer the phone always because that's how you feel validated. So some of us are unhealthy attachment style. We have built this community of people around us that just take from us, and we don't have anything to give afterwards. How many of you have had a real healthy experience with a group of friends where you felt so fulfilled and whole and nobody took anything from you? You deserve that. At your age, in this season, this week, this weekend, like today, tomorrow, you deserve to be able to have a healthy interaction with a group of people or one person or however you roll where like you are not depleted when it's over. You are not taking, like you don't feel like somebody has robbed you or stole something from you, or that you have been hanging out with somebody that's not your equal for the wrong reason. You deserve that. And if you're on the phone with somebody and they only call you to tell you what happened with their man friend and he guess what he did, and as soon as you say, well, today work was hard. Okay, I gotta go. Unhealthy. You need to ask why that person is, why they are connected to you and why you're connected to them. And the reality is some of these people we cannot shake because we're related to them. We're married to them. They're our best cousins and they don't have nobody else. And somebody was telling me a couple of weeks ago, they're like, yeah, I think you're the pastor of the family. And I was thinking to myself, no, I want to be a pastor, but I don't know if I want to be the pastor of the family because I'm navigating what that means. So I let them talk and they were just like, all of us should be in the car. No, let me stop you. I'm gonna pray that God shows you a Bible teaching church in the city where you live. Because if every time that I talk to you, it can't be cousin to cousin or brother to brother or sister to sister, I got to be your pastor, it's going to be a problem because I need an outlet too, right? And so I told them so let's get what do you need from the Lord? Because and let's pray about it, but also I want to talk about shoes or something, or sports or something sometimes. And if I can't talk to you about regular things, I'm probably not initiating a phone call with you because it's unhealthy. It's not good. So all of us deserve a healthy connection. Here's what the Bible says. If iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. That's the Bible. If you hang out with somebody and you are never different as a result of who you hang out with, you have a problem. And it is you and it is not them. Like, you ought to feel more fulfilled. And it's not to say you don't get together with your friends and you talk about what happened on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Sometimes that can be fulfilling because it's different from what you are in a normal practice of doing, right? But there should be some sharpening in your interaction with community of healthy people who are around you. Like, you should feel like a better person. You should feel more fulfilled. You should be around people that pour into you as you pour into them. Then Proverbs 17:17 says, a friend loves you all the time, but a brother was born to help you in times of trouble. And some of this means, and I think I've mentioned this, hopefully my brothers are watching, as they're younger than me, they're 6 and 8 years younger than me, and they don't live in this state. And when I was talking to them about starting a church and starting a Bible study, they were like, well, you are our older brother, and we cannot do anything for you. Like, you're our brother, right? Like, you're the older sibling. Like, you've always done things for us. So it's like we don't even try because we don't. It's just, Christmas, they make sure I have a lot of shoes. They take care of that. But since I love them and I don't want to shake them, I had to start articulating what I needed from them. I had to. I said, so check this out. You don't live here, but it would be good for you to ask me how the Bible study is going. It would be good for me if you watched it and took notes and we talked about it. It would be helpful to me if you called to check on me because we're all about to be in our 40s. So it's no more like you're the caretaker. So I had to have this conversation with them because you have to tell people how you want to be treated. Especially people that you can't shake, right? Because you don't want to, right? I think I was just talking to one of my close friends. I think Missionary LaPria is familiar with this. I was talking to one of my close friends, and I was telling the friends, when you cross that about 35, you got to start telling people this is what I need. And you can get there earlier. Ooh, you are ahead of the game. Because what I'm not going to be is sad that people in my life didn't know how to care for me or love me because I didn't tell them. So the season I am in is, check this out. I need you to call me and check on me on Sundays and see how I'm doing. Because you cut hair all day on Saturday, and I call you to see how business went. My brother's a firefighter. I be forwarding I follow the fire department that he works at. If they say something, I'm forwarding it, right? And so I had realized I never expected them to do anything for me because I'm their older brother. But when they asked me, what can we do? Oh man. Oh man. And they were receptive to it. The only reason why they hadn't been doing it is because I hadn't said nothing. I never said, I need you, younger brother, to do this. I never said that because I don't need no money from them or nothing like that. I did learn how to say to them, y'all got to come to California sometimes. That was hard, right? Because I used to come to them because I had some money before they had some, right? And they're all there and I'm here. But a part of me growing and maturing is if you got to run to Seattle 8 times in a year, for everybody's birthday, you ought to be able to say, hey, you know what, you don't have to, but if you did, this is what it would feel like. And you know what my brother did? Because I'd be listening, he's like, yeah, I'm going to, one time we were on the phone and he said he's going to Arizona. And I'm thinking to myself, you can go to Arizona. This is in my head. You can come to Sacramento. Every time he talks, I'm going to New York. And I'm thinking to myself, you can get a layover in Sacramento, but I never said nothing because I just felt like, that should be natural. Like, you should know, ooh, he comes to me, I should go to him. He never thought about it. It never crossed his mind. When I said it to him, maybe 3 weeks later, we're in church and I see him walk through the back door. And to me, that meant everything. But it was the result of me naming what I needed from him. And I want to challenge you to do that because you think people know what you need and they don't. You think they should know and they don't because you have not said anything. Now, if you say something, now you have to be productive. Don't say, you never come to Sacramento. Say, if you came to Sacramento, that would blow my mind. I mean, I would cry. It would make me feel so good if you came. If you say it another way, I watched this little couple and the lady was trying to convince her husband His name is Virgil. I don't know if y'all see these little things. She was trying to convince him to get her a Valentine's flower and some candy. She wanted to get flowers at her job. He was like, look at this house. You don't need no flowers? Like, this is your flower. I'm taking care of you. I'm a good husband. And she like, nah, everybody else is getting them. I want it. Now, she probably shouldn't have said everybody else is getting them because he was immediately like, okay, so now we got to be doing what everybody else is doing. But what she said was, like, it would make me feel so special. It's different if I got some flowers at work. I don't know why. It just would make me feel, and she got some. She got some because she said, this is how it would make me feel if you did this. Because some of us want romance and we don't know how to articulate what matters to us. Do not get me no socks and ties for my birthday. You know I want some shoes. That is my love language. That's what I like. Don't play. Don't. But I got to be able to articulate that, or I'm gonna get a whole bunch of ties and Father's Day gifts. Because I have spent a lot of holidays very disappointed. Like, this is what y'all thought that I wanted. And so what I had done was I made one of them little notes with the family and shared it with everybody. Here are my sizes. Here's what I like. I want these dunks. I want regular adult shoes. Like, don't be giving me no dad shoes that you wouldn't wear. I have not been Christmas disappointed since because I started to articulate my needs. So anyway, that was for somebody because the other thing is we have to learn to challenge lies. Right, that we have heard. And sometimes people say things to us that seem like the truth in the moment. I'm gonna give you some examples. They seem like the truth in the moment. If you're acting up in school and somebody says you ain't gonna never be nothing if you don't start acting better, your behavior has predicated somebody's assessment that you might not improve or you might not meet your life trajectory unless you do differently. But what has happened is we have internalized the things that people have told us and they're lies because we have the capacity to control what our life looks and feels like. Right? And so you have to be careful about how you navigate I see a lot of people doing like the Ozempic thing. And I was told somebody the other day that if you feel ugly on the inside, losing weight is not gonna help that. Because your expectation about the way that people will respond to you is gonna disappoint you right away. Right? You will never meet a standard of somebody else. Once you get skinny, then somebody's gonna say, I only like him dark skinned. Wait, let me turn this around. Once you bleach your face, the new trend is gonna be dark skinned. I had seen somebody that I swear they had pumped their lips up with something, and I was thinking to myself, like, all this work, and this ain't even gonna be in next year. It's not, because what's gonna happen is you done gone to another country and got something taken out of here and put here, and all you have to do is just decide to go to the gym, take a walk, or 2 or 3. And it's not that easy, right? But just thinking about it, like, I just challenge us to think about the lies that we have let the media and everybody tell us about what is real. And we respond to that whatever lie somebody has told, we have decided that this is the way you have to be. I've been watching, for whatever reason, in my algorithm are all these Housewives of Atlanta things. And I was like looking at the Housewives of Atlanta thing about, like Sheree didn't have a house, and she said she was building one, and that she didn't have no clothing line. Y'all watch Housewives of Atlanta? Like in the Nene days. Now I'm talking about, I don't know what they're doing now. Chateau Sheree. And I thought, like, them women, and I happened to watch another, like the new episode, and they were like bawling over this one woman's house. And I was thinking, these people probably do everything in their power to get their house decorated to look a certain way because they know they're gonna be on this show. And here's the reality, they've probably written all this and they gotta give it back. right? But if you don't feel better about who you are as a person, nothing that you acquire, nothing that you buy, nothing that you pump into your body, nothing that you take a shot of is gonna matter. None of it's gonna matter. And so we have to really learn to address the lies that we have been told. Here's what 2 Corinthians 10 and 15 says in the NIV version. We are destroying sophisticated arguments and every exalted and proud thing that sets itself up against the true knowledge of God, and we are taking every thought and purpose captive to the obedience of Christ. Two words that I want you to focus on in this two terms. First, the knowledge of God. Not your knowledge, not how you feel about yourself, but what you should be, the mirror that you should be looking at is what is the truth that God thinks about me? What is the truth about me from God's perspective? That's the mirror that you should be looking at. And then the second part of that is taking captive anything that is not in alignment with that. Or in other words, like, you know, like a little kid starts acting up and their mom snatches them and they straighten out. That's sometimes what you have to do immediately to things that are in alignment with who you are, who God has called you to be. You gotta snatch it up real quick. No. Before you go on, I know you think that way, but that's not what it is. And a lot of times it's not what somebody else says, it's what we hear ourselves saying about ourselves. No, that's not true. That's not true. Some of us, we are good at having a pity party because there's nothing like a pity party. Let's be honest. Pity parties sometimes be cracking. Because you get to say, no, yeah, I knew nobody liked me. I knew it was true. I was having a pity party the other week, and it was going very well. I was the only one there at the party. And because I was the only one there, I was able to create a narrative about who cared for me and who did it, and nobody was there to defend whether they cared about me. And I had invited some people there, but they weren't there in the physical, but I was there saying, see, I knew you weren't, you know, I knew you didn't like me. I knew I was only good for this or that. And I'm having a good time, like affirming this idea that what I'm telling myself is true. And then I realized none of this is true because it's a new day and the sun is out and people are outside walking around and there's restaurants that are open and there's all this stuff that you could be doing. Why are you here? Like, why are you in this process, this cycle of telling yourself these negative things about yourself, and they're not even true? You wouldn't even want to go ask the people if they really feel this way because it would be a waste of time, and they're gonna lie anyway. I didn't say that. Yes, you did. You did say that. But how do we do this? So finally, this is what I want to talk about the most in closing. Is this idea of self-regulating and co-regulating. Does anybody know what it means to co-regulate? We're gonna learn this. You write this down tonight if you do not know what it means. Self-regulating and co-regulating. So self-regulating is snatching your thoughts, taking control of what it is that you're thinking. The ability to manage your own emotions, thoughts, and behaviors in healthy ways, especially during stress or conflict. That is self-regulating. Self-regulating is saying, no, don't do this right now. Don't break down. Don't have a meltdown at this job. None of these people like you. These are not your friends. You need to go to the bathroom, dry your face. That's self-regulating. Do this later. Do not cry right now. That's self-regulating. Self-regulating is talking to yourself in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs like the Bible says. Self-regulating is saying, you know what? Put your finger on this and come back to it later. This is not the moment. Self-regulating is saying, I could bring up what happened last week, but this argument is gonna go to the next level if I do. And I'm trying to avoid that. If we can make this argument about what just happened if I self-regulate. Or how important is this right now, Dominique? Do you need to do this? Does this need to be said? Have you said enough? Has your face already communicated all that needs to be communicated? I think it's time for you to leave. You've been here long enough. I think you should hang up the phone because this conversation is not gonna go where it should go. You're getting ready to cut somebody out. You should probably take a step back because it's gonna go bad. Self-regulating is saying, the last time that you done this, you got high. or you had the inclination to go get a drink at the bar. Why recreate this? That's learning how to talk to yourself and say, dude, relax. That's co-regulating. That's self-regulating, right? Co-regulation is when you're doing it with somebody else. The way that two people can help each other feel safe and calm through connection, support, and presence. And I just want to say that a part of creating healthy attachment style is also what is called the ministry of presence. Some of us are bad friends because we feel like we have to do all this talking to make people feel better. Sometimes you just gotta listen and be quiet. What? You know what I start doing to my friends because I'm a preacher? When I start giving advice, it always turns into something new. Well, that's easy for you to say, it always comes up when I start talking first. Or if you got more money than your siblings, that's gonna come up. Or if you went to college and somebody didn't, that's gonna come up, right? Because people are always looking for some reason why your advice should be devalued. Well, in co-regulation, you are essentially creating safe space sometimes by just being quiet. And you know what I have learned to do? Mother, did you want my opinion about this or you just want me to listen? Oh, you just want me to listen? Okay, let me know when I can talk. If you don't want me to talk, cool. I'm just here to listen. Like, what if I feel weird? If I feel weird about something, do you want me to mention it? Okay. All right, you just want me to be quiet. Okay. Do you want my real honest opinion about this? What if you don't like it? Are you gonna be okay with it in the moment? Also, co-regulation is also, or self-regulation is also, me and Brother Michael are having a conversation and I know it's his fault and he's saying that it's somebody else's fault and I feel like I gotta be the one to break it to him. I do not. It does not always have to be you. You do not always have to be the bearer of bad news. You are not the truth cycle for everybody. You do not always have to get everybody together. It does not have to be you. That's self-regulation. Somebody's gonna end up telling you, it don't gotta be me today. Because if I'm the sacrificial lamb for the truth today, then you're gonna be mad at me for a week. Over something that I'm not even a part of. Like, that's self-regulation. I'm not in this. Self-regulation is like, it is what? Rather than, here's what I would have done. You were not there. You don't know what you would have did. Don't even get into it. You were not there. if you know, so this, now your good friend might be different. But if you're on the phone with Ray and you start saying what you would have done, it's not going well. It's not, because they're sisters. They're sisters. It doesn't go well. I be just listening. What? Like, one of my brothers has a very interesting perspective on submissive women. And I just know where I can take it. Because in my mind, I'm thinking like, in order to have, if you want to achieve submission in your relationship, you gotta kind of, you gotta have some stuff in order. I mean, in my mind. And that's what I'm getting ready to say, and it's not gonna go well, right? It's not gonna go well. So I'm realizing that. So co-regulation is, comforting a friend. You can co-regulate with somebody by saying, oh my gosh, I'm sorry that happened to you. I love to talk about the difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is, it happened to me and it happened to you. Wow, let's go skip and talk about what they did to us. Empathy is, it didn't happen to me, but I can accept that it happened to you, and I can sit and listen to you without saying, well, that would have never happened to me, because what I would have did was, you don't know what you would have done, because you were not there, right? And one of the things, especially as Christians, we have to learn how to pray for more empathy. One of the reasons why people don't like, quote unquote, church people is because we are the group of people that lack the most empathy of all people in the whole wide world. We do not know how to be empathetic because in our mind, we got a scripture. We don't know none of the scripture. We don't know the Bible. We got that one scripture that says, you should not, thou shalt not, whatever. Right? And if somebody has just done something that they are feeling shame about or they're feeling bad about, the last thing they want to hear is you going to Romans. They do not want to hear that. You can go to Romans. You should eventually get there if they trust you, but you also will protect yourself by not going to Romans. You can self-regulate by deciding, is this an Old Testament conversation or a New Testament conversation? Is this getting ready to be thou shalt not, or is it Jesus loves you anyway? Right? And so you have to decide that, because the more I had learned, I was at a meeting today, and they got to talking about Donald Trump in the meeting. And I was thinking to myself, Dominique, you will go hard and this whole meeting will be over. They will be looking at you like, what has happened? And one of the persons sitting next to me said, F-U-C-K China. And there was somebody over here that identified with that with China. And I said, bad idea, bro. It's not going to end well for you. You might want to regulate. You might want to self-regulate right now, because it's getting right. The person over here did not say nothing. They acted like they were on their phone. They got up and they left the meeting prematurely, and I knew what it was, right? I knew what it was, right? And so I just, you have to be careful. I don't know why I share that story. Do y'all remember? Oh, yes. You ain't going to get me in no conversation about Donald Trump at work. You're not. Because it's not going to go well. I'm going to have an aneurysm about something that I can't control. It's not going to go well. I'm not, right? Nothing's going to change. Every day, if you're watching the news, my mom called me this morning talking about some roof that fell on the club. And I just said, Mom, I guess Tom Cruise's sister was there. And she was asking me if I knew her. And I'm like, I don't know her, Mom. I don't, and I can't, I heard myself going from, no, I don't know her. I do not know her. Mom, I do not know Tom Cruise's sister that, right? And I said, this is an opportunity for you to self-regulate. You don't know her, so stop saying it. All right, Mom, check this out. We're going to pray for the people in Miramar, wherever Tom Cruise's sister was, because I do not know, right? And so I have to remove myself from that, because it's going to go in a bad direction. So how do you protect yourself? How do you protect yourself? You voted for Kamala Harris, don't mean you got to have every Trump conversation. It don't mean that. And some people are trying to trigger you in certain conversations. Let it go. Have a personal opinion. Talk to your best friend about it when you get home. Take a long drive. Pray about it. Don't let people bait you into something that will cause you to lose your sanity, because every day somebody's trying to do that. And know who you can safely co-regulate with. Note these words: feeling safe and calm, right? Safety is whatever I say, however I show up, this person is going to accept me. Our friendship is not going to be over because I said I didn't want to vote or whatever the conversation is. Safety with someone, and I think you can ask people, and this ain't attached to no demographic. Is this a safe time to talk? Because sometimes you can be with a safe person and not a safe time. Because I got a friend that be in the car with his wife every time I call. I don't know her, she don't need to know everything, right? Like, are you at a safe place that we can talk? I want to feel safe, and I don't want to feel like being all your kids just heard what happened at work. Like, if I hear a cat in the background, listen, I'll call you later. I don't want to be competing with your TV and you feeding kids. Like, I don't have time for that. If I'm co-regulating with you, I need your attention, right? Because that's how I feel safe. If you're multitasking, I don't feel safe, because you might not be there. What? I don't need a what when I'm telling you something crazy that happened, right? And here's why this is important. If you don't identify the people that you can safely co-regulate with, then you will start doing things that are outside of your character because you don't know what else to do, right? Oh, I don't got nobody to talk to, so I'm just gonna go have me a drink at the bar. And then you start co-regulating with the bartender, if that's even possible. God bless y'all. All right, so here's what secure attachment looks like. Regulated emotions, right? Comfortable being alone and having close relationships. And this is easy for me to say. I'm saying this out of pure privilege. Learn how to be by yourself. It's just not a problem for me. So if it is a problem for you, I'm praying for you because I know that that can be hard. But learning how to be with yourself and turning out the noise in your life is going to be very important for you if you want a healthy attachment style. Because you're going to have to sometimes review a conversation that you had with somebody. And sometimes what we do is we make things loud so we don't have to face what we said or what we did. Right? And so spending time alone shouldn't just be you're having me time and you're listening to Anita Baker and cleaning the house. It should sometimes be, let me review how conversations went at work or with somebody else, or how I could have better presented myself, or what I'm gonna wear next week, or how I'm gonna face an insecurity in my life that I have not been facing. So being able to be alone, and then being able to be effectively in community without losing yourself. You shouldn't become the group that you're in. If they're talking about people and you don't talk about people, they just talk about people and you're not. You shouldn't become that because then you lose yourself, and then when you are alone by yourself, you're reflecting on how you could have shown up differently, and really you were just being disingenuous because you didn't know how to show up in community with people who do things that you don't do. So learning how to be like, you know what, I think I said this last week, or I said this to somebody, because I know how my introversion is set up, I'm not walking into nowhere with a big bag or something, because I need to be sleek and easy to depart. If I know I'm trying to leave quickly, I'm not wearing orange. Everybody's gonna see me leave. Right? I'm gonna park down the street if I know I gotta get out quick. And you know what those situations are. You know what those situations are. Around the holidays, mother-in-laws, that kind of thing, sisters, once people start drinking or smoking or saying a certain thing or acting a certain way or a certain subject comes up, you need an exit plan, okay? All right. A healthy attachment looks like trusting others easily. And that doesn't mean that people can get over on you. It just means that you trust people's intentions, right? You know what? She said she was gonna change. I'm gonna give her 10 minutes to change. If I don't see a change in minute 11, she got what she got, I got what I got, right? But it's like, oh, I'm not going to that because they can't change. Like, yeah, they might change. You don't know, right? Being able to ask people for help and support. And that's the hardest thing, right? And sometimes you got to take baby steps, right? Like, hey, I just need somebody to talk to for 10 minutes. Would you be okay with that? Or, I think sometimes because we don't surround ourselves with people that are equals, we have an ego thing when it comes to asking things. But listen, if my friend's a millionaire, you can give me some money if you want to, but I just want to know how you did it, right? Like is that too much to ask? Right? So just learning how to be comfortable with that, high self-esteem and confidence, and you don't have high self-esteem every day. You don't feel good about yourself every day. That's work, right? And if you know that you have a problem on Mondays because you're tired or because people have worn you out, you need a Sunday night plan. Right? Because that's you sowing into your self-esteem. If you know that your kids deplete you, or your family members deplete you, or you know how you feel on Thursday, I'd never had no hump day challenge because I knew I had to prepare myself on Tuesday night for all that negativity. And you're not gonna make me upset at work because being Black is already a challenge. It's already enough. Like, I'm not adding nothing to my plate because you said it's hump day and you're tired, all this kind of stuff. I'm not participating in that. I'm just gonna take a walk. Now, unless we co-regulate on a walk, that's different. Willingness to grow and work through challenges is important. Here's a reflection that I want us to think about. You can write this down on your phone, or if you journal, I think that would be good. What's one pattern from your past that you see in your relationships? And it could be in your relationship, it could just be you know how to argue well. You don't give up on arguments very easily because you didn't see that in your parents. What is a pattern that you recognize in relationships? Are you too needy and it runs the person off? Where does that come from? Are you hard to get along with? Are you easily intimidated by competition? And so you don't feel like if the person looks at somebody else, they don't like you no more? Like, is that you? Like, what are some patterns that you can tap into that? And then learning to pray through healthy attachment. Father, help me to regulate my emotions better. Father, help me to build healthier relationships with people. Give me people that I can co-regulate with at work. Help me to better communicate with my sibling. Give me strategies to feel better about myself when I get up to pick out my clothes. Those are the kinds of things that I think. And I think we should be careful not to assume that God doesn't care about the nuances of our life. I think we should know that we have a Savior that's invested in the small things that we care about. And sometimes a part of our trauma is, because I was one of those kids that people would brush me off. I tell stories like very long, my head be all over the place. I don't pay attention as well as I probably should. And I would be telling stories when I was little because God called me to be a preacher and I didn't know that. So I got used to people zoning out. And so if that happens at work, I notice right away. And I used to think it's because I was black, then nobody want to hear me, something. And I realized like, no, that's you internalizing the fact that it takes you a long time to tell a story and somebody's zoned out. You need to challenge that, right? And realize that you have something good to say, you just might need to say it quicker. So you might need to practice at home. Like, how many of y'all have ever given yourself a speech before a meeting where you had to talk? Like sometimes you gotta go to the bathroom and say, Lord, I do not know what to say, and you know I got a lot of words, and I only got 3 minutes. I need you to give me the words to say. Or you're having a one-on-one with your boss, and you know how it's gonna go down, right? I wanna pray. I appreciate y'all coming. We'll be here next week. We're still talking about, things that we can get rid of, things that we can add to our lives to be better believers. I wanna know, does everybody here know Jesus Christ as their personal Savior? Raise your hand. Does everybody here know Jesus Christ as their personal Savior? Okay. If you do not know Jesus Christ as your personal Savior and you wanna know him, raise your hand. Because that's important. And we don't just want to assume that you came to Bible study because you already got Jesus. All right. There's nowhere that you can go that Jesus is not. He loves you, and he's already proven that he will make the ultimate sacrifice for you to be saved. And listen, there's nothing that you can do or say, there's nowhere you can go that will make you unlovable to God. And not only is it our challenge to remember that, it's our challenge to tell other people that Jesus loves them. If you enjoyed Bible study, I'm gonna encourage you to come back next week, bring somebody with you. I'm just gonna take a picture of y'all, please. Okay, Lord,